If you were a DVD watcher at any point, you might be aware of back in the day when before you boot one up, there'd be a whole bunch of messages on there.
Anti-Piracy messages.
And sometimes these would even be unskippable. Actually, no, they were always unskippable. And sometimes they proved endlessly frustrating too. But yeah, if you're some sort of uncultured swine who doesn't appreciate physical media, don't worry, I'm well aware that I am in the minority there and that not many people really give a shit about physical media. I understand that, I'm a freak, don't worry. But if you are unaware of this, every time you'd start up a DVD, there'd be various warning screens in various languages letting the viewer know of the various crimes that you'd be committing if you were to show the movie anywhere publicly without permission, sell it or profit from it in any way, or of course, infamously, these warning signs would let you know that you could not pirate or download the correlated film or any other like it by the ways of any other but legal. And it always seemed so fucking redundant and patronizing too, because the only place you'd ever see these ads was literally on
Physical media.
Like, come on man, I bought the fucking thing already. You're preaching to the choir here. I'm the idiot that's still buying this stuff. It's so unnecessary to be telling me to buy stuff and not to illegally download stuff and everything.
I'm the idiot still doing that!
It's kind of ironic, because if you were to, you know, go on Pirate Bay and get these movies or whatever the fuck you're gonna do, however people torrent or get movies illegally nowadays, you're not gonna get those ads and stuff if you do get these movies of any other way but legal. You're not gonna get that stuff, you're just gonna get the movie. Isn't me buying the movie, buying the DVD, kind of like a thing where I shouldn't get ads? It's like when you pay for YouTube Premium and you don't get ads because you've paid for it. You're not supposed to get ads when you pay for stuff. But anyway, after all those warning screens, then would come up another variety of funny little DVD extras. If you're lucky, you've got yourself a DVD with just an ungodly amount of trailers before you ever get to the main menu of the film that you actually want to watch. Like a fucking ridiculous amount. Have you ever turned on one of these DVDs and you've got like literally like 10 trailers for movies that came out in like 2005, and it's like, yeah, I know these movies came out, I was there.
And nobody ever needs a reminder that 2005's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory starring Johnny Depp ever came out ever.
Anyway, of course, my complaint for this nowadays is extremely outdated for most people, but you know, obviously with all the stuff that you always see behind me in my videos, I'm still watching physical media, so I still have to go through these stupid things. It's all my own doing, so I can't really complain too much, but here I am complaining. Now, this issue is kind of regulated, I guess. It's kind of solved for most people because of streaming services. You know, on Netflix and stuff, there aren't any ads. There are some on Prime. There's usually one before something plays, but that's about it. Pretty much other than that, unless you're using one of those dodgy free ones like Tubi or whatever, which will periodically stream an ad right in the middle of your thing. So it's like right as you're getting to some dramatic scene where they're gonna kill somebody or something, you get an ad for a vacuum or some shit. Usually it's not that, actually. To be fair, when you do get ads for on streaming services, especially when I'm talking Prime anyway, they usually are actually relevant. It's not like TV is, I guess still, but I don't watch TV, so it's not like TV was back in the day is what I was gonna say. Where, you know, you're watching something dramatic and then you get an ad for, I don't know, cat litter or some shit.
If we're gonna go that way, you'll need a bigger knife.
Feed the family with Hungry Jack's new family bundle. Treat you.
Usually, at least with the Prime ones, and if you get these other ones, there are at least ads for like other shows or new shows that are coming to these streaming services. But back onto DVDs, if you were lucky enough though, a lot of the time you'd get more anti-piracy stuff after those initial warning screens. And these came in hilarious or weirdly iconic variants. I remember one in particular that was on a lot of Australian DVDs from, I guess, maybe 2010. On a lot of DVDs, this is what comes up.
By purchasing this DVD, you are supporting your local film industry. Thank you.
And me and my wife, every single time we see this, we say it with it. Thank you! It's just the classic voice. It was always kind of funny to hear the big fucking thank you thing for buying the DVD and everything. Yeah, it makes me feel so good. I think that we were probably, we're some of the only people that really see the meme humor in it, because most people probably didn't even see it. Because, again, this was from maybe 2010 onwards, and even by then, people weren't really getting DVDs. Yep. like 10, 11 years ago, it was already outdated, and here I am with a bunch of them behind me. Although these are Blu-rays, and I can feel a bit better about that. But below that are DVDs.
I'm an old man.
But yeah, this was kind of like a really familiar, just kind of fun, comfortable thing that you see before DVDs. We kind of loved it. But of course, this little message was also wrapped up in the advertising messages that all of the DVDs really wanted to get across, which was to not pirate movies. That was the focus of all this stuff. Again though, preaching to the choir, dude. There was another version of this on Australian DVDs a little earlier or concurrently with that one too though.
Downloading pirated films may seem harmless, but what you're really burning is the future of Australian films.
My guess would have been this one's prime time was like 2007 because it used to have a poster for that mutant crocodile movie Rogue on it, where the voiceover would say something like, Australians make great films. And while looking it up in preparation for this video, this one that I was specifically talking about was actually for specifically roadshow films. It was like that specific brand. And there was another one too as well which had Happy Feet on it, and I guess they were trying to do something a bit more child friendly. Maybe they put the Happy Feet one on like PG rated films and whatever. But like, there's something fucking creepy and ominous about the burning of the Happy Feet poster. Like, it looks kind of weirdly terrifying. I'm sure I would have been scared of that when I was a kid if I saw it. I don't recall, but I probably did, and I probably was. But yeah, this Happy Feet one is the only version I can actually find online. So that Rogue one, who knows where it is. Probably on a bunch of the DVDs I have, but I'm not gonna go through and try and luck my way to finding one. But yeah, I guess there were a bunch of different versions of the Roadshow Australians Make Great Films ad, and I kind of like it. Another thing that I always found funny about that though was that I would always remark, because I was like your edgy teenager and shit, feeling like, haha, fuck you. I'd be like,
We all love seeing a good Aussie film.
Then why am I watching this American movie, dickheads?
like, I just, without fail, would always have to remark back to the stupid DVD telling me that Australians make great films. The one thing I will say about this ad, and that I guess there is a little bit of legitimacy here when it comes to the exclusively the Australian film industry, you know, we're not massive. It's not massive, so piracy actually probably does have a heavy impact on it. At least in the 2000s it did. The fear-mongering is still pretty apparent and ridiculous though. Like, these ads just, without fail, they're always so funny. They're always so dramatic. Calm down, man. Nobody was scared of these ads. And they probably cost like heaps of money to make, I'm guessing. I don't know, maybe that's not true. But like, I don't think there was one person who saw an anti-piracy ad in like 2006 and was like, maybe I shouldn't do that. But that's why they're so arguably so iconic to me to this day though. They're these useless little things that wasted my time before getting to the thing that I actually wanted to watch. And there's something nostalgic about it. What's actually even more funny is that they tried to spin this type of ad off way back in 2014, where they made it more positive, and this whole 30-second thing plays out, where various minor celebrities and I guess film crews and whoever thank the viewer. This was basically the longer version of the thank you ad. But then there is the granddaddy of them all, and you knew this was coming. I could not talk about this topic without it. Everyone knows this one. Everyone loves it. It's a classic. It's the you wouldn't steal / download a car one. And oh man, this one's my love. I think I love this ad more than I love film itself. It's just so fucking it's embarrassing, it's cringy, but it's fun and it's cool and edgy because they've they really tried. That's the thing about this ad. With its like weird nu metal like soundtrack playing over it as it tried to be all realistic and gritty and cool to the hip kids of the year 2000 or whatever, and its flashy editing as it tries to guilt trip us into not pirating movies. There is something that I just unconditionally love about this stupid fucking ad. I never really knew the origins of this one till now, but apparently this one was an international one, shown just about everywhere, but of course originated in the States, as everything always seems to. But this was actually shown in cinemas as well as on home media. It was mostly shown between the years of 2004 and 2007, which surprises me too because it's so iconic. I thought it would have been part of a much longer campaign than that. And it wasn't even shown by every major studio either. The major ones were covered, like in Paramount, 20th Century Fox, MGM, and Sony, but according to the wiki, these were the only ones that used the ads on their DVDs. Another ridiculously funny thing about this particular ad that I love so much, which I found out during my research for this video, video is that apparently, according to this article from 2013 on a website called The Ransom Note, the music used in this ad was hypocritically stolen. Pirated from a Dutch musician named, I'm not going to say his name properly, Melchior Reldovit. Apparently, this guy gave permission for use of his music on the ad, but only for one-time use. It was meant to be for a film festival. It was going to be shown once and that was it. The dude got paid, everything was good. They made this agreement, that's that. But soon enough, one day when he was randomly about to watch a DVD, he found his own copyrighted material, which was the music in this stupid you wouldn't steal, download a car ad. The anti-pirate preachers did exactly what they warned us not to do in stealing content. It's just so ironic, as if they did that. How does that happen? You'd think that, like, my god, just telling everyone not to do it and then doing it yourself. It's just, it's gold. It's gold. I love it so much. Anyway, in the end, apparently the musician guy did get the royalties that he was owed, but not until about 5 years later, after the initial realization and subsequent legal action that he took. It took many a year of fighting in court cases and whatever the hell to actually get the money he was owed for the fucking thing they stole to tell us not to steal things. It's so funny. It was essentially a pre-meme, like before memes were really a thing. This guy found himself, his own work, being this kind of butt of the joke thing that everybody was talking about. Everyone knows the music, and ever since it's come out, this has always been something that people make fun of, like the great parody from the IT crowd, if you haven't seen that. My god, it's just so funny and good. Another problem with this ad is just how tone deaf it is, as it compares pretty major crimes like car theft to fucking stealing a DVD. Like, maybe stealing physical copies of DVDs was a common problem back in the day. I don't know, I don't remember, but today it's so laughably outdated. It does also warn of downloading too though, so it gets a point there, I guess. But even still, the comparison between stealing a vehicle being one thing and downloading a copy, by the way, a copy makes it a difference, but a copy of like Fight Club or whatever, it's just a whole other wildly mismatched thing. When you're stealing a car, you're taking that car away from the owner. When you're downloading a thing, you're not taking the original away. You know what I'm saying?
You are taking potential revenue away from the owner though, so I don't know, it's complicated.
The real problem with these ads though is that they're making it out as if people who have ever pirated one movie in their entire lives are these nefarious criminals who are just out to get you and destroy the entertainment industry once and for all. Like it's some sort of menace to society, and those are the only people who have ever done this kind of thing ever. It's not just, you know, people who actually want access to things that, like, they're not really giving us many options, at least back in the day. Things have improved, but I'll get to that in a sec. According to the industryobserver.com though, some anti-piracy firm called Muso found that 83% of those who pirate claim they tried to access whatever they stole legally first, but when that failed, then they went to the black market. And here's a statistic I recently came across while looking up all this stuff that made me laugh. OzFilm says 21% of Australians aged 18 plus continue to pirate movie and TV shows despite the increasing amount of legally available content. My issue here is that they say, despite the amount of legal stuff. Because it feels a little bit ignorant. It's like, yeah, sure, there's plenty available, but if it's not the thing that you want, it's the thing that you want that matters. You know what I mean? The frustrating thing is when something that should be available just isn't, for no good reason. It's kind of like on Amazon Prime, the Australian version. I really love this show called This Is Us. It's just kind of, it's very much like a soap opera thing, okay? But I'm a fan, alright? Fuck yous. But it's just not there. It is there. It's listed. Season 5, the newest season, is listed there. But it's just not available to Australia. It's available in other places, I believe, or at least it was on live TV or whatever. But I cannot watch it here on Prime, and there's no reason not to. Just release them here, man. What are you doing? Like, aren't you getting money when I watch it and watch the ads and whatever? Just let me watch it. Just let me watch it. It's so annoying. This is where piracy comes in. This is why people choose to pirate, because they're not given access to things. Again, this is improving and becoming less and less of a problem as streaming services go on. But yeah, back in like 2007, there wasn't that option to stream. And so if you wanted to watch some sort of American series that we weren't getting for whatever reason, there was no other way to watch it. I get the copyright issues come up when it comes to streaming services, but usually here in Australia though, like, we don't get access to things out of the distributor's own greed and nothing more. It's not like it's unable to. It's more like, nah, our version of cable called Foxtel wants us to spend $100 a month. Otherwise, we're basically not allowed to watch it. Like for Game of Thrones, which was basically unwatchable when that was on the air. Basically, the only legal way to watch it in Australia was to either buy the DVDs a year later, or it was to use Foxtel, which could be up to $100+ a month. Which was basically out of the question for anybody with a brain, to be honest. I definitely wasn't going to be paying for Foxtel. I couldn't pay for Foxtel. When Game of Thrones was in its prime, I was like a teenager. How was I going to pay for that? These were the only legal ways that I knew of. So pretty much everybody pirated that show. Everybody. In fact, Australia is infamous for it. Apparently, we even topped the charts of torrenting Game of Thrones during season 6 at about 12.5% of all downloads of that show coming from Australia, because it was essentially the only way. If they'd made streaming options come down to a reasonable price at the time, I'm sure a huge portion of people who watched would have been fine to pay a few dollars an episode or whatever. The issue for years is the misunderstanding that people don't want to steal, they just want fucking access. But yeah, again, this is becoming a bit more of a non-issue. This has definitely improved. Now that streaming potential has peaked and we're on multiple apps and all this stuff, we get a large chunk of everything. But it's not perfect, we're still missing things. We're still, specifically in Australia, we don't have some stuff. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia's last couple seasons, for example, just aren't on Prime for no reason. We've got, what, is it 1 to 13, but we don't have 14 and 15? Give or take a season there, it might be one back or after that, then I'm saying. Again, This Is Us, it's a show I unabashedly love, but for some reason we always seem to get it a year or two after America. For no real reason, because it's on the internet. We can watch it. That's the annoying thing. I just want to watch it on Prime easily. Personally, I don't pirate things myself because I'm too dumb. I'm scared I'm gonna get a virus. That's really the main reason. But for two, it's just such a hassle. I just want it on Prime, man. I just want to turn my TV on and it's there. But they make it hard for us. And there's a ton of other shows that we just get like 2 years later here in Australia. Like American Horror Story, we're always so behind on that for some reason. It eventually comes to Netflix, but like when I say eventually, I mean fucking eventually, you know what I mean? But I've got to admit this new-ish streaming service called Binge is actually pretty good, and it's been giving us stuff like American Horror Story and HBO content and stuff. It's pretty good, except though I have one problem with it, and that's that it doesn't have an Xbox app. It's like super outdated. That's how I watch everything on my Xbox, and it's really annoying that it doesn't. But the Binge is pretty good otherwise. But get on fucking Xbox, Binge, jeez. And look, I'm sure that a ton of these shows are hard to get a hold of legally, for the distributors, I mean. Same goes for a lot of newer films that haven't gone to cinemas yet. You know, every year, all of the Oscar nominees before the ceremony has actually happened, it can be hard to find. It depends. Sometimes they're all kind of there, and it's getting better as well. Again, with Disney Plus, there's a few options there. Nomadland was just added to that, and there's a few other movies and streaming services that are making things more possible. But I know in the past years, I've wanted to have tried to have watched every single Oscar nominee before the Oscars so I can like make up my mind, get in the game, guess what's gonna win and whatever. But like, you know, it's always been only in cinemas, and like for some reason, a lot of cinemas don't even show them all. Like, I don't know. Oscar nominees can be hard to watch in Australia for some fucking reason. You'd think that they'd make that easy. That has less to do with the streaming and the piracy and stuff. That just has to do with the cinemas, and I don't know. Again, I'm sure there's a lot of legal reasons for it, but from like a customer viewpoint, it's frustrating. Another thing with the streaming and the piracy, the downloading and whatever, another solution is VPNs, of course. That's another solution, but it is still annoying to have to go out of your way. Like, yeah, it's not that hard, and it's definitely a reasonable solution, and you should probably do that. But it's just like, you shouldn't have to do that, is all. That's the frustrating thing for me. Like, just make things available without even an option to pay. Some things are just literally unavailable for no reason, and it's annoying, but it's becoming less of an issue. What's rising in issue with so many different options though is the exclusivity. Much like gaming consoles, the companies behind streaming apps can once again take certain popular shows hostage like Foxtel once did with Game of Thrones. It's not nearly as bad, with the average price of streaming apps coming down to only about $12 a month or so, and if you want them all in Australia, it's going to cost only around $66 a month to be on Netflix, Stan, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Binge, and Shudder. But still, you know. But there's a few other streaming services as well. There's like this SBS one, and I'd be surprised if like anybody pays for that. It might be free. I don't know. I don't care about SBS. And then there's something called Canopy as well. I don't really know what that is. I'm not familiar with that. Technically, YouTube is one as well, actually, because I actually regularly rent movies on YouTube. So the price can go up for whatever it is that you specifically want, but still, unless it's not one company charging you up the ass for a handful of like movies or whatever that you actually want to watch, or TV shows like Foxtel did. Like, you know, if you wanted shows that were only on Foxtel 10 years ago and you only watched like 3, you'd still have to pay like almost the full price and whatever. There weren't a lot of options. They really just tried to rip you off. I'm looking at you, Foxtel. I'm calling you out 10 years too late or whatever. Anyway, the current version of these ads is more about the online security and less about the film industry or making us feel bad. It still preaches about it being a crime. She says, a victim of your own crime. And it's so funny, but the main focus here is the hackers. That hackers are gonna fuck you up if you pirate now. I admit it's a better approach as an ad because instead of focusing on the morality of piracy, it's telling potential pirates that there could be consequences like viruses, hacks, or otherwise. It's still laughably dramatic though. Like, again, I don't think anybody's getting tricked by this shit, you know? I don't think anybody's going to think twice about pirating because they see this ad. I just don't. I don't think it's happening. Anyway, a similar recent one features this old Aussie actor. Apparently his name is Brian Brown, who I'm sure a lot of people recognize, but I only know him as the bad guy from Two Hands. That's the only thing I know him from. This one plays similarly. It's lit dramatically. It's in black and white, and it's telling its audience to take it
very seriously.
And, you know, he's like a rough guy talking all seriously, and you should listen to him because he's got a deep voice and stuff.
I need to talk to you about illegal downloading because the game's changed.
He also says online with the wrong emphasis.
They're online. They're online. They're online. They're online.
He goes on about how the Australian government and stuff have taken down all these websites and everything, and they go really out of their way to not name certain ones that start with pirate and end in A, which I think you can still access now, by the way. I don't know. I don't actually use it, so I don't know. I pretty much just stick to physical media and streaming services personally, but I know a lot of people still download stuff. Okay, so I know this has already been a long ass video, but I want to talk about that one ad that actually made me decide to make this video in the first place.
Bob's DVD looks amazing.
Stand still, fighter boy.
Jim's DVD doesn't.
This came up on a Blu-ray I was watching recently. I forgot what it actually was, unfortunately, but either way. The premise is that it compares good guy Bob, who bought a DVD, to bad guy Jim, who's brought a DVD on the street.
Bob's invited his friends to watch a DVD he bought in a store. Jim's invited his friends to watch a pirated DVD he bought on the street.
And it goes from there as both try to watch Die Hard 4 of all things with a room full of their friends. Hilariously, the voiceover goes on about how good guy Bob is having a wonderful time and he's so glad he spent money on his precious DVD.
Bob's DVD sounds perfect.
But bad guy Jim did a boo-boo and his DVD has funny lines all in it. How embarrassing! Like the cartooniness of this whole situation, the comparison between them is so stupid. As Jim's friends look at each other all confused as if to say, oh my god, what's happening? And Bob's friends all like high five each other, yeah, and they laugh and everything. And it's just like the best possible time they've ever had in their lives. The comparison is just so funny as they laugh to Bruce Willis's antics and experience the full power of the DVD. It's so silly and I love it. And then, yeah, again, the comparison, they're just having the worst possible time. It's probably raining outside. They're all like, I can't believe this is happening. I especially love how it has to say simulated image at the bottom when comparing the visual quality. But anyway, after experiencing an ear-screeching noise, foreign language dialogue, grainy security camera looking visual quality, and overall crap, bad boy Jim's friends decide to all just leave him because he's just the worst and doesn't deserve the company anymore. I guess he shouldn't have pirated, because if Jim bought a DVD, he'd still have friends. Honestly, the funniest thing about this ad though is that the scene that they're showing in Live Free or Die Hard in this ad is 40 minutes into the film. So I guess what's his name? Bad boy Jim's friends stayed around for 40 minutes all confused, like, what's going on? What? This is so bad. They watched for 40 minutes with these reactions before finally deciding to give up and leave Jim, bad boy Jim, the bad man who pirated and does not deserve friends. I also found this slightly other version of this ad, which is essentially the exact same thing, but this time there's no named characters, just they and he. And this time, they who bought it are still having a great time, but the already all alone he, because only lonely loners steal and only friendly friend havers buy, but already alone guy is going to steal. He hasn't actually stolen yet, he's going to. But throughout the short ad, fails and gets viruses and whatever. It's quality stuff. And now I just have two more that I want to talk about. I'm so sorry this video is so long. First is this extremely cringy one about these hip cool teens with their emo haircuts and their differently colored clothes talking about how they realized that sharing movies online was just plain wrong and they didn't know. They all assure us that they didn't know.
It's against the law.
It's called piracy and it's not fair.
First I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
But now I do. It just makes sense.
Apparently these teenagers had no idea piracy was a thing or was against the law.
I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time.
The worst part of this ad is the uncomfortable close-ups to their mouths at the start before changing up the game halfway through and introducing us to the rest of their faces. From there they go on about how everyone was doing it. Everyone was doing it, but now they realize it's wrong. And you know to listen to them because they're cool, hip, young teens, so they know what they're talking about. As the last one tells us to visit filesharingfacts.com to find out more. We just, you know, it's good. It's good stuff and we should listen to it.
It just makes sense.
And I saved the best for last, guys. Yes, there is a funnier anti-piracy ad than you wouldn't download a card. Believe it or not, this is fantastic stuff. Okay, this last one is called Let's Terminate Piracy. And scooch in, guys, because I have a little secret to tell you. It features some guys from Hollywood. Yeah, legit, that's right. After their classic feature Around the World in 80 Days smash hit us in the face in 2004, the boys Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan decide to hit up each other once again and reunite to personally warn us against piracy. It's just so funny because did anybody ever think this was legitimately cool? Did anybody change their ways because Schwarzenegger told us so?
Jackie and I are on a mission to stop piracy. If this were a movie, we can take on the bad guys ourselves.
And apparently this footage as well, by the way, is from Bad Boys 2, which makes it even funnier for some reason.
But this is the real world.
This is the real world, guys! Can't you tell with these amazing visuals?
When you buy pirated movie and music, you support criminals. Demand the real thing. Help us stop piracy. Let's terminate it.
Okay, and now here we are at the end. We had fun, we laughed, but now it's the time for this video to end like every other video essay does, by saying something very generic. So the next time you're watching a DVD, look out for one of these anti-piracy ads and tell me what you think about them. Video essays always end with the guy saying, so the next time you watch something, think of this. Ever noticed that? Anyway, thanks for watching this dumb shit. I'm aware this is kind of silly, but I was really excited to get this one done because I don't know, I just love the idea of these ads. The you wouldn't steal a car one, that's just a classic in my mind. So hopefully you enjoyed all this stuff and do the things, you know what the things are, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff, all the things that YouTubers say, do them for me please, especially the sharing part. I would like to, you know, spread myself around the interwebs and have people be aware of me. Does that sound weird? I don't know, maybe. Goodbye.
Jackie and I are on a mission to buy pirated movie and music. Help us support criminals.